All right, I'm ready for Brent's question now. Okay, so as you can see, I pulled up the the MACD indicator on here because this is very similar to what Brent is using. So he has an indicator that has a histogram, right? So the MACD has a histogram here. So it has an indicator with a histogram and a signal line, and of course the MACD has a signal line, which is the red one here. And so he wants to use this indicator to do some filtering. So for example, when the histogram is above the 0 line and the signal line is falling. Okay, yeah, so Brent, the one thing you missed in your question here is when the histogram is above 0 and the signal line is falling, are you wanting to remove short signals or are you wanting to remove long signals when that happens? Okay, yeah, so if the histogram is above 0, we only want to see long signals only. And if the histogram is below 0, short signals only. So we're basically going to make some kind of a histogram and signal line type of filtering here. So let's get this off the board. So I'll use this crossover here. So yeah, we've got some crossover signals here, quite a few. So we'll filter these crossover signals using our histogram and signal line. So that'll be the system that we're going to filter here. The easiest thing to do here is to determine whether the histogram is above or below a 0 line, or any kind of indicator above or below the 0 line. So to do that, I'm going to use the threshold solver, right? So that 0 line is our threshold value, so we're looking to see if the indicator is above the 0 threshold or below the 0 threshold. All right, so for our input, let's plug in our MACD. There you go, there's our MACD. And so we're going to select that histogram plot, which NinjaTrader calls it the difference. And of course, I'm just going to use the standard, the default periods here for the MACD. And our threshold, is the 0 line. So we're going to leave all of our thresholds at 0. And then for the output, we want to know if that histogram is greater than 0, greater than A. What is A? A equals 0. Or if that histogram is less than 0. So for the short outputs, less than E. And there we go. So we can see, whenever the MACD histogram is above 0, long output, below 0, short output. So that's one of the conditions. Now the next one is, for a long, let's see if we actually have. This may not actually occur with the default settings on the MACD. Yeah, I'm not seeing the signal line falling while the histogram is above 0, but we'll build this out and we'll be able to see if it does ever happen. So, all right. So for to determine whether a plot is falling or rising, we're going to use the slope solver here. So let's connect that in. Okay, so there's some kind of a name for that solver. And for the input, again, that's going to be our MACD. There's our MACD. This time we're going to select the signal line. All right. Now, of course, the default settings is, if a plot is rising, you're going to get a long output. But we need to reverse that so that if a plot is falling, we get a long output. So to do that, we need to adjust our outputs here. So, right, we can see that the output in direction is on by default. So we're going to turn that off. And what we want is an output against the direction. Right, so there we go. So we just basically kind of reversed the outputs. So now when the signal line is rising, we're getting a short. And when it's falling, we're getting a long output. And so the next step is to combine these two into an AND node. And there is our filtering. And yeah, I didn't think we were going to get anything. So, all right. Yeah, let's adjust our MACD here. Yeah, I think if I speed up the smoothing, that should give us what we want. No, it doesn't look like that did it for me. Let's see, let me speed up the smoothing here. Yeah, it doesn't look like I'm going to get the MACD to give me an inverse slope on the signal line. Yeah, let's see if I speed up the fast line here, see what happens. All right, I might have one bar here. Yeah, where we get this inverse relationship between the histogram and the signal line here. So let me just see. All right, so I got 6 and 20. All right, so I need to go into BloodHound here and adjust my indicator settings. All right, so 6 and 20. All right, so here's the slope solver. And let me adjust 6 and 20. Let's see here. I guess not. No. Yeah, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get the MACD to make that inverse relationship. But, yeah, this is how you would do that. So, let's see here. Brent was asking if I could show the slope solver again. Yeah, so what needed to be adjusted on the slope solver was turn off the in direction, right? And turn on the against direction there. All right, so anyways, these two AND nodes is what makes up your filtering. And so, you know, you would just take, you know, your system, you know, whatever your other signaling conditions are, and just tie them into this AND node. You know, for example, I could just tie this AND node into that one if I wanted to, but really there's no sense in having two AND nodes, so I could just get rid of that one and just connect that crossover solvers right into that AND node. And there we have it. So again, just to recap here, for the histogram, right, I'm using a threshold solver, you know, with the thresholds set to 0, right, threshold levels at 0, and then the long output is greater than A, the short output less than E. And then for the slope solver, I have against direction turned on and in direction turned off. So there we have it. All right. George has a follow-up question. George is asking, how can we find the peaks and the lows, or basically, how can you find the high points and the low points of the histogram? Yeah. So example right there. How can you identify those points, those inflection points, right? That's what those are inflection points. So if you want to do that, we'll grab a inflection solver. I'll just put it down here. There. All right. And so for my indicator here, let's switch in the MACD. There's our MACD. And I got to remember to adjust the settings here, right? So it matches what's on the chart there. And then we'll select the histogram plot like so. And there we go. Now, of course, this identifies all the inflection points. So there's, if there's one thing about the histogram is, it has a whole bunch of inflection points all over the place there.